Hi everyone. I think we're getting late, and next is lunch, so I will try to go quickly. So topic is community in Magento 2, and I will cover some cool facts about Magento and what we achieved so far. My name is Max, everyone knows. So I'm Director of Community Engineering, the team which recently new in Magento. I worked with Magento for 10 years, but this team is founded last year in February, and our main goal was how we can start work with community, not only saying we open source, but do development in Magento in open source way. How we can get smart people in community to have a voice and also have idea and bring this innovation into Magento itself. And it's went well actually. We were a small group beginning with 4 people. Right now we're 10. And I hired more people, so it's going to be 20 people by end of this year, working only in community, dedicated to community. So it's a significant investment from Magento, and it's a pretty cool one. There is a few stats which I have, which just outline results and how community active in Magento world. So far, only half a year this year, like H1 2018, my team involved in working with 3,000 community developers using GitHub. It's the people who either create pull requests or comment or create issues, somehow to reach out to us or working on us. And it's a huge amount of load. And you can imagine, like for 6 months, how many people approach and working. It led us to about 4,000 pull requests delivered only in half a year from community members. And again, if you count like how many months working days, it's a huge amount. So Magento itself, we cannot afford so much many delivery happening inside of our company. So, and that's the reason my team slowly focused to working with community. And we're working across like 18 repositories right now. We started last year with one, Magento 2. Right now we have 18 different projects, including enterprise code, including B2B. There's a lot of contribution happening, and our partners, and developers, everyone engaged. So the amount of community development from Magento is growing significantly month over month, which led us last year. Magento became #1 PHP framework in GitHub with a number of contribution, top number of contribution, which is beat every framework, even most popular like Symfony. Laravel #1, right? They have more stars, more community, but we have much more contributions in source framework, which is amazing. When I'm talking with people from those communities, they don't know how it happens, how Magento community itself, can afford such a huge amount of work being done. And again, which leads us to next step. Like at the moment, by today, 50% of entire code base in open source, Magento open source, delivered by community members, developers. And it's crazy, so nobody know how we're doing this and how community works. When I'm talking with people from Apache Foundation, we have new members from Adobe join us. They said like it's unique. There is no any other example in commercial products where community plays such significant role. But from my point of view, and everyone can agree, the Magento itself became popular innovation from Magento Coin just because of this community, and that's actually just numbers we show. But what is Magento 2.3 for this, right? So it's going to come by end of this year. And what means all these numbers, pull request, commitment. And I just cover like what's going to be in Magento 2.3, and all what I'm going to share is delivered by community. So it's not Magento develop it, it's community bring it. So first and simple, about 1,000 fixed issues and improvements delivered in 2.3 scope, which is crazy. So we never had such many fixes, improvements going into any release. This release is going to be like breaking down. So 1,000 pull requests with different improvements already merged in 2.3, and it's still, we have some time, it's still coming. There is few cool features delivered by community. There is Mesh Specialist, Ricardo Tempesa, and we call it the RIC, delivered security improvements. Two-factor authentication right now going to be out of box in 2.3, and everyone can benefit it. Also, we're going to have Google reCAPTCHA, also delivered by the same guy, which allow again security of all customer facing pages, which is I think long time demanding features, but community stepped up and said like, guys, let's do it, let's implement, because we want our customers to have secure connections and secure experience. And that's it. One of the other example which everyone knows, I think it was published one time, it's instance purchase by Creativity. So what happened next day after Amazon patent on one-click checkout expired, it was pull request and connect with my team, like let's merge and like Magento, be able to do it. So right now in 2.3 Magento, and we're moving to 2.2 as well, you can use this one-click checkout out of box. So it's cool stuff. You have some limitation in payment methods, but out of box people can have this Amazon-like experience, and I think everyone can do it. There's another example when community came up, and it's already from technical side. There is some trick part about Magento. You can go in admin and flash cache. And if somebody doesn't know what kind of side effect going to happen, it's very dangerous, because if somebody go to admin and you have very load on your website, somebody click and flash, it start re-indexing, basically your site is down and your customers cannot do. So, and CTI Digital, they approach us like, let's create limitation. I want to manage this in ACL level. I want to say this admin cannot do this because it's dangerous. And they deliver these improvements. It's, again, going out of box. There is a bunch of import export improvements. It's like big topic. We have import export, but there is a lot of, I would say, issues what was in this list. And community, gatherers, they organize the group and they put about 100 items which, they think need to be improved in Magento native import export. And we, working with them, and they already delivered 1/3 of it, and they keep working, community can deliver it. But we have already a bunch of improvements coming in 2.3 again. Another topic is GraphQL. So it's, before topic was by Piotr about headless stuff. So that's actually our efforts to do Magento work headless, and it's like complement our PWA and any other PWA improvements. Even Devante gonna benefit of it. So we start working internally, but we realized like, oh, we want community developers to learn about this, not waiting when we're gonna deliver. We want to invite in development so they can learn what it is, they can increase and provide own use cases, how they can, how it can be implemented. So we open source it and we start, have more and more traction on it. And so if you're interested in this project, it's going to be a topic after lunch here by Alex about what exactly it is, but also you can join and develop and learn what it is before it's going to be even released. This good example, WebAssync API, also delivered by community. And it's cool stuff when two partners just combine efforts. There's Balance Internet, one solution partner from Australia, another Conwrap from Germany. So they approach me and say, like, guys, we have a problem with our integration because we use heavily Web API to update the products. So we send thousands of products by batch every day. And Magento API doesn't allow process it. So it's database logs, it's a lot of problems. And they say, like, we need to fix it because we already, wasting a lot of time and money to just support our custom solution. And at the same time, Conwrap approach was the same. So we had a call, we outlined design, we figured out how best way we can deliver these improvements. And then I said, I guess, are you willing to combine efforts? So they dedicated only developers working with my team, and they deliver it. Right now in 2.3, we're going to have asynchronous Web API and bulk API, which much more improve integration with different product solution. At the same time, in order to do it, we should have message query. And this net starters said, guys, you have it in enterprise only in 2.1, 2.2. But this solution is like basics. It should be in community edition, in open source edition. So we talked with our product team, business side, agreed, yeah, it makes sense. So NetStarter moved enterprise-only code to public and open source. And it's another great example where community, stand up and say, no, guys, you cannot hide it in enterprise because it's thousands of clients which requires this feature. And you can deliver this improvements. So we did it. Another stuff is Elasticsearch. Again, Smile. It was only enterprise feature. So we work about how we can move it to open source. So we move it to an open source solution and also community upgraded to support Elasticsearch 5. So all this develop, again, it's all what I entail right now. It's not Magento delivered. It's not our backlog. It's community. It's you, developers stand up and say, Magento needs this. It's required to be a successful product in the market and deliver it with us. Next up is 7.2 PHP is the same way. So we release in 2.3 end of the year, but in December 7.1 going to be expired end of the life. So we need Magento to work on 7.2. We, in this case, approach to community, say, guys, let's help us to do it. We need to do it fast. And it's like dozen developers joined and start working module by module, figure out what's missing in order to support 7.2. And right now, Magento 2.3 supports 7.2. Another is PWA. It's like our big implementation of headless, and next experience, next customer experience, right? We open source it and we working and we gather community around this. There is Eric here from our team who leading this from product perspective, and it's good good experience if you JavaScript developer want to learn to join this project, work with our guys, our teams, and learn and help implement and speed up this development, and so to be ready when it's going to release. So with 2.3 we have PWA Studio which is going to release. Another example which I am more tight and proud of is Magento multi-source inventory. It's one of the biggest ever open source initiatives initiated by us. It's basically long missing feature which everyone merchants with new requirements of e-commerce world needs. It's ability to manage different stocks sources in Magento website itself. If either you sell in some marketplaces or you sell from some warehouses or from your own store, you want to manage in Magento all these quantities. So this project we started twice in Magento. So we as a Magento, like 3-4 years ago, wanted let's develop it. But we realized we need about 3 teams, like 15 people work for 1 year just to deliver basics, functionality, which is very expensive, and we struggled. We started, then we dropped it, we moved, and by the end of the day, last year, we said, let's go to community and say if they want to use this project, if they need it. So we launched this initiative back in May last year in one of the hackathons and contribution day in Germany. And we just do a we explain it and ask if people are interested to work on it. And we were surprised, 20 people jump in and say yeah, we want to work on this project. So we're going to release this in 2.3. It's already an alpha release. It's effort as I remember by statistics, it's 20% addition to code base of Magento. It's a huge project, but it's a reference example of how Magento going to look in the future. We use extensively API, isolation, all this practice which we want to implement overall. It's implemented in this subset of modules, and we have different logic which can be reservation, which allow non-blocking. So it's a lot of, I would say, cool stuff, and very smart people join it from community to figure out how it should work. And they provide these algorithms for us, and we're working together to implement. But by numbers, it's more than 100 people for 1 year contributed into working on this project. About 20 agencies represented, and we have already 700 pull requests. So it's a huge project. It's already going. It's going to be 2.3. And if your developer encourage you to check what it is, maybe you will join and want to be part of this team. But it's not all. So it's something what we release in 2.3, but there is more coming and more ongoing project. We have payments improvements going around. We have Japanese localization, which is interesting project led by Nishi-san from VeritaWorks. So basically, Magento doesn't support big numbers and don't support integer types of currency. Like Japanese, they don't have cents. At the same time, in Indonesia, they have big numbers. Magento out of box doesn't have these capabilities. We want to change it and provide out of box and more stuff around this. Performance improvement, search. So B2B projects also come in. When we start releasing, partners start using it, they say oh, we need new features and want to contribute. So there's a lot of coming on it. But what it means to be a contributor, right? Why it's important? What's in it for me or for all staff? We have about 3,000 developers who already contribute and contributing, which is a big number, right? We have a bunch of people in this picture from last year hackathon contribution day in Germany. So you just working as a developer, you meet all these people. You online on different events. You kind of have conversation and became the part of this distributed team. We extensively using GitHub, and that's our contact point, because for developers that's important part. How my code, how can check other code, collaboration issues, and you learn a lot of doing this stuff, which is pretty awesome. We use Slack, and in Slack we have already about 3,000 developers. And if you're not, there is links. If you're a developer, and not even developer, there is links to how to register and join. I encourage you to join because if you have question in implementation, cool part about the Slack, it's not necessarily Magento response. There is 3,000 other people who are always willing to help. We have Vinay who is like very active, so he's always willing to share his knowledge, which is, you literally gain a lot of experience and meeting a lot of people there. So that's where we can, communicate. Make, link or just ping me if you want how to join it. So we're trying to increase population, and it's very, very cool. It's a very healthy channel. Again, as a developer, if you do contribution, we're using ZenHub, so we're really trying to use GitHub and all the plugins around to figure out, how this process works. So we implement distributed agile practices in our GitHub. That's what my team doing, trying to educate and manage the 1,000, contributors. Require some extra tools, and you learn again how it works. As you open, you see who's working on this progress. You contact this people, which is pretty cool stuff. We do weekly demos. And we start using YouTube to publish it. So we have our community engineering YouTube channel. So feel free to join it. We have a demo on different projects. It started from MSI only, but right now we have PWA there. We have different architecture consoles. So you basically can go find your data and what you're interested in, what being implemented to see the demo and video explanation with people who develop this. Or you can jump in live because we do it on live and people can join from around the world. So as I mentioned, Magento itself as an organization, we invest a lot of community, and community engineering is one of the examples. We invest heavily in it. We going around the world, we travel with people. But a part of my team in community engineers, right? We have architects who always on calls. They jump. They're willing to collaborate, help. We have product management teams working and helping, like MSI project, other projects. So they basically come and talking with all, hear your experience, and that's what's important. They provide. We're getting feedback and provide improvements in our backlog. We have UX designers, quality engineers, even tech writers, working with community right now because we have open source dev docs. We accept all contributions, but also tech writers join all these public, open demos and trying to help to improve documentation. So it's a lot of investment from Magento and open source community and Magento community itself. Also, if you contribute, right, you always get this cool stuff, as we call badges. But we have Magento.com site, and which we promote our contributors. So if you do some contribution, create pull request, you're going to be on one side, so somebody can go and see your face, your GitHub avatar, and everything you have done. And we're proud, these people. We have T-shirts give up to people. I see a lot of. We provide the stickers, and I see a lot of people coming with stickers, and oh, you did contribution, and they start talking, which is pretty cool stuff. We have a separate group called maintainers. It's people who are very active in community, very, I would say, experienced, and they basically start own Magento. We provide full access to Magento code, and they became ultimate community representatives who decide which code going inside. So they community, that's actually, there is not required explanation. They're maintainers, they granted all rights, they respected for everyone, and they basically do work with community. That's example that community works with community to deliver next Magento. So you also can find and join contribution day. So we had it yesterday. It was cool. If be honest, it was out of even my expectation. Being so far in Singapore, a lot of people join. We talk and learn a lot from each other, and it's always cool if you see in some region or where you're going there is contribution day. I really encourage you to join. You learn a lot. You're gonna gain experience. You talk with nice people and spend cool time. So, but again, what is for you? You became a contributor, right, if you work, and it's cool. You learn from others, which is most important, because if you're working in your company with your people, you're still limited with knowledge which exists here. Going and working with open source community, you meet 1,000 people and you learn from them. You share knowledge as well, because the more you share knowledge, working with other guys, people will recognize you, and you became reference point for somebody. So think about if you share something, make something cool, people are going to approach you. You're going to become reference points for community, which is I call it be famous, but everyone famous who in the list in contributors. Everyone knows each other. People start talking, ask you to join, show some presentation or demo. Yeah, be proud of open source community. We provide some top contributor rewards. We provide swag definitely, but for top contributors, we're also giving up tickets for different events and a lot of benefits to being part of this community. But most important, if you're working for solution integration partner or own business, what's for business it, and that's few stuff is usually missing. So first of all, and that's what I learned from our partners, when they start working with the open source community and already got this feedback, they say, our selling point right now, everything is possible in Magento, because Magento has own limitation, but it's open source product. And with community engineering and big community, everything can be implemented. If there is merchant coming to a partner or solution integrator to you asking something and say, oh, Magento may not fit my needs, and by some reason doesn't fit because there is missing features or maybe localization gaps, you always can say, and your boss or sales said, oh, everything we can do with Magento, because right now we have a huge community. If we want to do specific integrations, specific API required for some market, we can do it. And like, I don't know, if we're speaking about Asia, like China, like if we need to pay and somebody needs, everyone needs here, so we can collect community, make this project, distribute it, and it's going to be out of the box already supported. There's more other features, and it's more and more partners, when I'm talking with them, they realize it. They say like right now with talent, if merchant approach us, we can do everything, and we can do this community. And why it's important? Because most likely merchant doesn't want to pay for some custom implementation which they expect to have out of the box of a commerce platform. That's where it can be done and open sourced and delivered with Magento. We have this contribution partner program for our solution partners, so it's easy to step. Just send an email to me, to my team. I want to be part of this program. But what you're going to have, you have private channel with architects and core engineers in Slack, so we can collaborate and help you if something happens. You're going to upskill, partners going to upskill developers, and that's important point, which again I get a lot of from partners. There is developers who are working with us from different partners, and they say these developers within like 5 months working with open source projects with community engineering, they became leads. They became like almost architect because they know exactly how Magento develop out of in the core, and they active participators. So they basically train teams in our partners to educate how write properly code and how create integration, what need to be done. There is motivation part, which is also excited. I talking with one of our merchants, and it's big enterprise merchant working Magento, using Magento, sorry. They have in-house developers, which is sometimes happen with big enterprise clients. They won't have in-house development, and they have like 20 or 30 developers, and they said like how we can participate and engage developers in open source initiatives, working with community engineering to deliver some features. And I asked, okay, why you need it? Like because for partners size it makes sense. He said like, my developers working on our own site, right? Our commerce platform, Magento installation, and it's not boring, but with the time they do the same stuff because we're just running this project. And they, and the merchant mentioned they want to motivate, and they basically make developers to participate in Magento open source initiatives to make more interesting work for them. So, and also help Magento to evolve with new features, which is, I think, pretty cool example. There's something happened. Good? Yeah. Of motivational part, because if you're a developer and you're always boring, do the same stuff year over year, right? But if you can shift and during your work hours do something which everyone can benefit and learn a lot of new, it's pretty cool stuff. Definitely marketing. So for our solution partners, when they deliver stuff, we go promote, we use our efforts. We have Magento activity points delivered for our solution partners, and it's pretty much very self motivated part. We do different rewards also. If you're a partner, or not even partner, just individual developer, you top contributor, we provide certificate for Magento U training. We provide tickets for different events, for top contributors, maps again for partners. So also what we introduced recently, we just want to distinguish our solution partners with beige saying core contributor. And right now, if you will go to magento.com partners category, you can scroll. There is few partners, like for example, this like Balance Internet Tech Division, which participate actively in community engineering projects. They have this beige core contributor. What it means for me, and what I always explain, if I know the solution partner do contribution in the core, they have extensive experience how Magento built inside. They can do good extension stuff, but they right now have extra knowledge, which basically proved by this beige from community engineering team. Also, we do this reward, and there is pictures from our top 2017 contributor interactive for during the Imagine Partner Summit. They were rewarded with this cool, reward. I don't know how to name it. A big glass stuff called Community Engineering Award, and they also be proud of it. They basically keep doing this. They engage. They create contribution days over the world, so which is fun part for everyone. So if you have questions for me and you want to participate, you don't know how, just approach. There is email for Inchcom team. If you go to your if you partner or working for partner, tell like, oh, it's beneficial for us to join this program. Just drop me email. There is again Slack channel. If you're there, you can ping me anytime or any of my teams and guys what it is and how we can participate. So there's different ways, and we're always open, and again, we increase population of community and trying to just help it evolve as it is. And yeah, I hope I'm on time. So it's my emails if you want, but that's it. Thanks, everyone. I don't know, we have time for question, if any. Yeah?
If anyone wants to ask something, okay.
I have a quick question. I've been watching the development for a few years. I'm not a developer, I'm just a customer, but I noticed a deliberate, basically, there's quite a lot of extension developers, right? Mm-hmm. But there's deliberate neglect on the Magento community part not to interfere with what these extension developers are doing. So like, there are some extensions that everybody knows, you are never going to incorporate it. You're just going to do something else, but we have to install them and add them. Is it some kind of a special like stance kind of that you have not to interfere with the most successful extensions to allow them to exist and continue developing, or is it just simply? I'm trying to find explanation for this. That's all.
All right. So we don't interfere with extension developer, right? Because majority cases, some extension developer, like for example, I showed example mesh specialist, right? They had this extension to FA, two-factor authentication, right, and a reCAPTCHA. So they approach like, guys, we want to have secure, and it's open source. Can you take it? So we're not stealing extension, right? We don't try to prove. We have marketplace and a lot of paid extensions there. Sometimes there is like free extension which our extension developers have, and they say like maybe it's good for this extension to be part of the core already. And there's more benefits because if it's core, we support it already, right? We're trying to increase. And that's where they come up to us, and we always talking if it makes sense, how we see it. Maybe sometimes it makes sense keep it as marketplace extension, right? So I don't see, and I didn't see any clash between some extension developer or Magento core what we're doing, right? So we're always supporting it, and so I don't know. I hope it answers your question, but
one more question.
Hello, Max. Thanks. I'm very curious about the payment part because you mentioned about instant checkout, which is coming in 2.3, right?
Yeah.
So I was just curious, how does it really work for merchant? And does it look like a plugin that merchant can enable and install? And how would merchant connect it with a real payment service provider like a PayPal or Braintree? Because there are already existing payment plugins there available, right?
Yeah. So instance purchase, yeah, it's out of box. It's going to be like part of Magento distribution. How it can do, you go in admin, basically you want to enable. I don't exactly remember, but I think it support, I don't know about PayPal. Some payment methods support which allow to keep token and allow this information go. So basically there is integration with payment, few payments providers. And yeah, it works out of the box. And again, it's optional. You can disable it if you don't want to. And payment improvements itself, what you mentioned, is a separate project which allows use, for example, Apple Pay in the browser, right? We use API, of Safari or Chrome, which allow, apply, payment cards immediately. And it's again community project come up. It's not related to instant payment itself, but it's allow integrate Magento with the browser and all this, new native stuff which happen in there. And it's again community came like it's cool stuff to do, and why not? Let's do it. Done. Okay. If you have questions, I still around. One more question. Yeah. Okay, last one. I think there is lunch everyone to eat.
Yes, I have a question on multi-sort inventory project.
Mm-hmm.
I come from my store we have about 15 Magento apps. So we really want to join to contribute to Magento.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So could you share me the plan for next plan for multi-sort inventory project?
So multi-source, I'm happy, if you want to join, let's talk. It's easy, I'm going to explain what to do, but in terms of what's next plan, we have a good roadmap. It's everything public. Entire documentation, roadmap published in GitHub. And right now, what we do, we finalize and then going to release for 2.3 first version, but we still have list of features we want to implement in the future. So it's going to be an ongoing project with more improvements, and we're going to continuously deliver it. What's coolest part about MSI is going to be first example when we're going to release, this functionality as independent release. So we can release it independently from overall Magento. We did it, using API integration, and I can explain, later. But the point is, we can release it often as we want. Deliver a new feature, release it. Deliver a new feature, release. Don't wait for Magento, new version. But yeah, let's talk. I can explain how you can join and what can be done. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Okay.